Hey, welcome to Chaplin's Picks, where I need to watch movies like a zombie needs to eat brains. So I do my ratings with brains, not stars. I want to talk about a recent horror anthology movie that I saw. It's VHS Halloween. It came out in October, right in time for Halloween. It's the latest in the VHS anthology series. I love anthology movies in general. I've actually acted in an anthology movie called Nightmare Cinema that came out in 2018. I was in the fifth and final story called Dead, and I played one of the main villains in that story, and I had a blast working on that movie. So I always like to watch any new anthology movie that comes out. I'm a big fan of that style of horror movies. This VHS Halloween is one of the better VHS movies in the series. They're not all as good. Some are better than others. I think this is definitely up in the top tier of VHS movies. It had 5 stories. I enjoyed all 5 of them, and I also enjoyed the wraparound segment. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It definitely has the Halloween vibe. So if you're looking for something that has that Halloween feel, I definitely recommend this movie. So I'll go through each of the stories and give my rating on each one and just talk a little bit about them. So I'll start off talking about the wraparound segment called Diet Phantasma. It's where they're testing a new soda on guinea pigs, so to speak. They have a group of selected people in a room, and they each keep having them try this Diet Phantasma soda. And every time they take a drink, something crazy, bloody, insane happens. I don't want to say too much about it, but it does have kind of an interesting turnout at the end when you figure out what exactly this soda is and why it's doing this to the people who are trying it. I thought it was actually a pretty cool reasoning behind why it's been doing this to everyone trying it. It was a pretty enjoyable wraparound segment and definitely a little bit humorous. So I did like the wraparound for VHS Halloween. The first story is called Coochie Coochie Coo. I want to give it 5 brains. I thought it was really fun. It was creepy. It was unpredictable. It had some very cool practical effects in it. It was probably the grossest story out of all of them. And I don't mean necessarily because of blood, but there's some other stuff in it that's just kind of gross and disturbing. I thought it was pretty original. Basically, these 2 older girls who are getting to that age where they can't really trick or treat anymore decide to do some trick or treating after they've smoked a little bit of weed. I could not tell where they were going with it for the first half of the segment. They go inside this house. The house itself is super creepy, and there's a character in there who I thought was very, very creepy. I thought it was original. It kept me engaged. I liked the creepy characters they had in there, and I thought it was just a very different kind of story. I hadn't really seen this idea done before. The second story is called Ut Supra Sync Infra. The entire story is in Spanish, but it has subtitles, which I don't mind at all. I watch movies with subtitles all the time, so it didn't bother me. The acting was good. It's basically a sole survivor from a Halloween party is being interrogated by the authorities. All of the rest of the college students that were at the party were murdered horrifically and missing their eyes, and he's saying that he's the one who killed them, while the authorities are saying they don't think that's possible from what they found at the scene. So the whole story is kind of trying to figure out how these kids died and if the one who's detained is the actual murderer. They do end up investigating the crime scene, and there's something that I thought was really cool that has to do with the telephone. I don't want to say too much. Some other elements involved that explain what happened. I don't want to say too much, but it was definitely a fun segment. It was not quite as original or interesting as the other segments, so I'm going to give it 3 brains, but I still had a good time with it, and overall, it was an enjoyable segment. The third story is called Fun Size. That was my favorite story out of the five. It's just crazy, definitely original, has a very interesting take on candy. As the title implies, fun size. There is a connection with candy in it. There's also a character in there that I think is very iconic. It's a character with a very large head and a smiley kind of face, and the character says "fun size" in the segment in a very creepy way, and I think it's an iconic character that for sure could have a Halloween costume made of it probably next year. I think some people might try to do some costumes of this iconic character, and it's one of these stories that takes the main characters into kind of another realm, and they just have a lot of gore, some very inventive deaths, and I thought it was a very interesting concept. They are just put in this insane environment that has some very twisted stuff going on with candy and how the candy is made. Fun Size was a very fun segment, definitely the most creative segment out of all five. I think that it was the most iconic segment, and it was definitely my favorite. It was just a bonkers segment, really crazy. The fourth story is called Kid Print. It's very dark and very realistic. It has to do with kids who have gone missing and being found murdered in this town, and there is a company called Kid Print that is supposed to help keep kids safe by taking pictures of them and getting records of the kids. And a lot of parents want to do it around Halloween since there is this serial killer in the area. It was something that could definitely happen in real life, which makes it very disturbing. There is a lot of stuff involving kids in the episode and horrible things happening to kids. It had me fooled on who the killer is. They made me think that this one particular character was the killer. I thought it was very well done. It surprised me, and they do show a lot of footage of just messed up stuff happening to these kids. It reminds me almost of like a Stephen King story or something. It's just very dark. I think it was actually pretty well done, and it did keep me engaged the whole time. It kept me wondering who the killer was, and I just thought they did a good job at making it very disturbing. So I want to give that one 4 brains, and it was definitely the darkest segment out of all of them. The fifth and final story is called Home Hunt. They did a whole take on people who do haunts, and there is a kid and his dad who have been doing haunts every year since the kid was small, but now the kid is an older teenager and he feels kind of embarrassed to be involved with his dad decorating the haunt and setting it up, so he doesn't want anything to do with it this year, but the dad still talks him into it, and they end up going to a Halloween store they normally go to, and the dad finds this room that he's never seen before where it has some items that are not necessarily for sale, and he takes something from there, and the kid says, "What are you stealing now?" But he says, "I left money for this thing that he takes." I don't want to say what it is, but it's something that looks a little suspicious and strange, and he wants to use it in the haunt. I really enjoyed the practical effects in this segment. There is some really cool kind of Halloween creatures in it. I thought they did a really good job with the makeup, the effects. It's also very gory, and a lot of carnage happens in it. A lot of people getting dismembered, and just a lot of blood and body parts. And it's just very well done, and I think it was also pretty original. I really enjoyed this story as well, and I want to give it 4 brains. Definitely an enjoyable story, and I think overall all 5 stories were really good. I just gave certain ratings higher to other ones because maybe they were more my favorites, or I thought they were more original or stood out more than the other stories. But overall, VHS Halloween was very well done. One of my favorites in the VHS series. Perfect movie to watch for Halloween. If you like horror anthologies and you don't mind a lot of gore and you like the VHS series in general, I would definitely recommend checking out VHS Halloween. I give the overall movie 4 out of 5 brains, and I would recommend watching it around Halloween or on Halloween. It's the perfect movie for that. Go watch it if you like it. It's on Shudder and it's a lot of fun. Until next time, this is Chaplin's Picks, and I need to watch movies like a zombie needs to eat brains, so I'm gonna get more of my fix. Movies, not brains. See you next time.